In this book, I'm telling the story of the Vietnam War, trying to give the story of both sides. As you know, this war took place within the larger Cold War. So it was a war of East against West, so-called free world against communist world. I tried in this book to be balanced, to tell the truths, the good and the bad of each side. In the end, I take part. In the end, I take sides. I choose my side. You'll find out which when you read it. But I see myself as trying to give a voice to the Vietnamese people of both sides, because the medias were dominated by the Western world, America, Germany, France, England, and they would tell the story the way they saw it, and it was often true, but rarely do we get a chance to hear the way the Vietnamese went through it. And the Vietnamese had parents on both sides. More than half of my family chose the side of the revolution. My father and some of his brothers and cousins, were on what I would call the non-communist side. I don't like to name it the anti-communist side, because we weren't necessarily anti-communist, but we would have preferred a pluralistic democracy with an opposition where there could have been communists and an extreme right wing, probably, but at least something looking like what we have in Europe. Not very exciting, I know, but for me, valuable. And that's what I'm trying to tell. I'm trying to give a voice to the Vietnamese people of both sides, because it's often been distorted by propaganda on both sides, and by politics, or just simply not being heard. We've never been asked, or not never, but rarely, not often enough. Most documentaries made by Americans or English or Canadians, some of which are excellent, the best documentaries give a voice to the Vietnamese. After all, they were the main participants in this story. And you'll notice that in many American films about the war, some of which I find very good, like Apocalypse Now, the Vietnamese are just like in the background. They're like, what do you call them in English? In French we say figurants. You know, when you're asked to stand in the back holding a spear, like, you know, in Cleopatra, you're just there's a word for that. You know, they give you a bit of money and you stand all day dressed up as a Roman soldier, and you don't say anything, but you're just standing there. Anyway, that's in some American films, the Vietnamese are just like that, they're just there for the background. Well, I hope that in this book I will have managed to make the readers hear the voices of the Vietnamese people who took part in this, and the Vietnamese people of both sides. Because in all Vietnamese families, there were people on both sides. Sometimes a brother was on one side and the other brother or sister were on the other side. This was absolutely current in our story.